On today's program, Botswana Stock Exchange threatens to chop budget retailer Choppies out of its trading board. Meantime, Saudi-based Islamic Development Bank is launching two funds focused on Africa and Asia. Meantime, Copperbelt Energy Corporation sells 50% stake to Liquid Telecommunications Holdings. All the details are right here on Business Incorporated. I am Bosin Mafai here at Channel's global headquarters in Lagos. Let's start from the African markets, where the Egyptian Stock Exchange is beating other big exchanges on the continent this Wednesday. The benchmark EGX 30 of heavily capitalized stocks posted 0.62% intraday. In South Africa, the GSE Composite Index was in a negative 0.77% territory at midday Wednesday, while the Nigerian Burst was showing the index a weak to 0.11%. On Tuesday, the Nairobi Securities Exchange main index finished a very strong 1.79%. Meantime, the fallout of the missing journalist Khashoggi seems to be catching up with the Saudi market. The Tadawul index was down 0.22% intraday Wednesday. News came last Tuesday that the CEO of the London Stock Exchange has joined a list of big-name delegates walking away from Saudi's investment summit scheduled for next week. Overnight, the International Monetary Fund also announces that the managing director, Christine Lagarde, has, quote, deferred, unquote, her scheduled trip to the Middle East, but citing no further reasons. For the rest of the GCC markets we're tracking, Qatar index was up 1.25% at noontime in Lagos, while the Abu Dhabi and the Dubai Stock Exchange were in green by about 0.5%. So it's a big day in Brussels today for the UK Prime Minister Theresa May, taking the contentious and controversial Brexit talks to European leaders and policymakers. Meantime, the European markets are higher early today, taking a cue from Wall Street. Strong Tuesday finishing line. Let's have Ulrich Batz join us from the floor of the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Ulrich is of DWTV for Channels Television. Good afternoon, Ulrich. It's good to see you. UK Prime Minister should be in Brussels by now for those Brexit talks. What type of reception was she expected to receive? How is this visit being reported in Germany? And is it a market talking trading point?
I think she's up for a cool reception. It's a big topic in Germany, and it's a big topic on the markets that has again and again depressed the market here. Occasionally, when there was a slim silver lining, an apparent one, then it's helped equities in Europe up. But at the moment, there's a lot of skepticism. People are depressed. And today it's more of a talking point, what's to be expected. And tomorrow it will be a trading point when we have results from what transpired in Brussels, both at the presentation that the UK Prime Minister will give, and then perhaps information coming out from the discussion afterwards by the 27 heads of government and heads of state who discuss over dinner then what Theresa May presented them, Theresa May not being a part of those discussions then. A cool reception because there's really very little progress on the material points. There's even debate on how long the transition should go on. This, so few months before the actual Brexit is coming up next year. And what's, I think, exacerbating the climate is that there's more and more political conflict, both domestically and on the EU side. Domestically, if you look at the political turbulences here in Germany after the Bavarian election, there's another election coming up in 10 days on the state level, which can also be a crucial one. France's president seems to be flailing about politically, at least that's what observers say. The Italian government is under fire, and you're looking at European-wide elections to the European Parliament in Strasbourg early next year with a new commission coming in, a new commission president, and going around and presenting one's feathers, if you will, as a candidate and presenting positions isn't going to make reaching a sensible agreement any easier, I suspect, in the next couple of months.
But again, I'm looking at the DAX just over your shoulder there, starting like the rest of the European markets in positive territory, now tracking a bit of a bottom as we speak. So is this anything to do with this new a forecast by major German public banks economists talking about growth, currency rates, inflation, bond prices in the US, Eurozone, and Germany? Is this anything to do with it? Give us more insight a little bit into those forecasts and why.
I think the slump in the markets is also due to the economic forecasts, but of course the Brexit, the Italian situation, the trade conflict all contribute to investors' nervousness and add to that debate again and again on what the kind of interest rate trend in the United States upwards means for the world markets and the world economy all play into that. The forecasts by these economists from major German public banks like the Deka Bank or the Helaba or the Bavarian Landesbank, they don't paint that great an economic picture either. They do see economic growth next year, 2019, for the US from between 2.1 and 2.7%. Way better, though, than at the Eurozone, where it's seen between 1.5 and 2%, and in Germany, a range of between 1.4 and 2%. And people do see higher yields for bonds than at present, both in U.S. Treasuries and in the 10-year Bund, the German bond. And that, of course, higher yields on the bond side does not really make out all that great, stable, comfortable, suitable environment for equities.
Okay, so let's stay with in your market, Europe. What's happening to car sales? Why are these numbers slowing down, in particular in September? Why this pullback? Yeah,
there's a huge downturn in September. So far, January to September, sales were up by 2.5%, but they were clearly down in the month of September. And it's mainly due to a new emissions test, WLPT, which is a worldwide thing, and which measures emissions and fuel consumption in a way that it hasn't been before, much more detailed, but much more extensive and time-consuming as well. It measures various variables like speed, braking, stops, the kind of speeds you're going at, and it takes into consideration the different makeup of the cars involved. So you have to test each individual type of car, let's say a compact car with this engine and this transmission and this weight and this optional equipment, air conditioning or not. You have to test that, and if it has a different optional equipment, a different engine, you have to do another test again. And with the myriad of models available from European manufacturers, some say at Volkswagen, for example, there's not one car like the other that's sold here in Europe. It takes so much time, and the registration, the availability to sell them is hinged on these tests, and before all the models have been tested, they can't be sold to the public. So that could take some time, and it's surely a hindrance to the car companies at the moment. A consequence, not least, of Dieselgate.
Ulrich, should we check in with your choice of cars maybe tomorrow? Let's leave it there for today. If you're changing cars, whatever,
sure,
and try to improve on the sales. Let's check in with that. Maybe tomorrow, right, maybe Friday, we can take all of that. Thank you. Have a great day of DWTV for Channel Television. Ulrich Bat at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange.